Russia's Su-57 program, once marketed as the flagship of its fifth-generation fighter ambitions, has become one of the most visible symbols of Moscow's declining aerospace capability and wider military-industrial decay. Over 2 decades of development have yielded a platform that remains unfit for mass production, technologically inferior to its peers, and strategically irrelevant in any major theater of operations. From the outset, the Su-57 was presented as Russia's answer to the United States F-22 Raptor, a stealth air superiority fighter that could engage in both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions while surviving in heavily contested environments. The core vision was to project air dominance, close the technological gap with NATO, and re-establish Russia as a global leader in cutting-edge aviation. However, this vision was based more on propaganda than engineering feasibility. While Moscow repeatedly made bold claims about the aircraft's stealth, sensors, weapons systems, and versatility, few of these promises have materialized in practice. One of the most persistent and debilitating problems for the Su-57 has been its propulsion system. The aircraft continues to rely on the AL-41F1 engines, originally designed for the Su-35. These engines are not adequate for true fifth-generation performance, lacking in both supercruise capability and thermal signature reduction. Russia has been developing the Izdaliye-30 engine as a supposed solution, but despite repeated announcements since 2017, it is still not operational in production aircraft. The delays in fielding a new engine not only undermine the jet's performance profile but also expose Russia's broader failure to independently design and manufacture advanced propulsion systems. Modern fifth-generation aircraft rely heavily on stealth-compatible engine nozzles, reduced infrared signatures, and optimized thrust-to-weight ratios. The Su-57 meets none of these benchmarks. The airframe itself presents multiple design compromises that hinder stealth and survivability. Western defense analysts have pointed out visible design flaws such as the non-stealthy shaping of engine nozzles, radar-reflective canopy frames, exposed rivets, and lack of radar-absorbent material consistency. The radar cross-section is significantly higher than that of both the F-22 and the F-35. The aircraft's emphasis on agility, while in line with traditional Russian design philosophy, has come at the expense of low observability. The overall result is an aircraft that performs poorly in the very domain that defines fifth-generation warfare, survivability in contested airspace dominated by modern sensors and integrated air defenses. Furthermore, the Su-57's onboard avionics are several generations behind Western systems. While Russian media routinely tout its AESA radar and electronic warfare capabilities, actual performance metrics remain classified and unverified by any independent source. Leaked assessments suggest that Russia's N-036 Bylka radar system lacks the reliability, resolution, and resistance to jamming seen in its NATO equivalents. Sensor fusion, a defining feature of modern air combat, where inputs from radar, infrared search and track (IRST), electronic surveillance, and external platforms are synthesized into a single, actionable display, is rudimentary at best on the Su-57. The U.S. F-35, by contrast, was built around this very concept, giving its pilots unmatched situational awareness and faster kill chain decisions. Equally damaging to the Su-57's credibility is its dismal production record. As of mid-2025, independent defense sources estimate that Russia has built fewer than 35 flyable Su-57 airframes, with only a fraction deployed in active squadrons. Serial production began in 2020, but was immediately hampered by supply chain disruptions, component shortages, quality control issues, and limited industrial base capacity. Western sanctions following the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 have further choked access to microelectronics, machining equipment, and composites necessary for aerospace manufacturing. Rather than scaling up, the program appears stuck in low-rate production, unable to meet the Kremlin's stated goal of fielding 76 Su-57s by 2028. Combat experience has done little to redeem the aircraft. Russian officials have claimed that the Su-57 has flown missions over Ukraine, but open-source intelligence and Western surveillance suggest these sorties were limited to standoff reconnaissance roles, likely launched from deep within Russian territory. The aircraft has not been risked in active air-to-air or strike missions inside contested Ukrainian airspace, an implicit admission that its survivability in real combat is in doubt. If Russia truly believed in the aircraft's capabilities, it would be far more aggressively used to demonstrate dominance. Its absence on the front lines sends a louder message than any official statement. The international market has similarly rejected the Su-57. Despite years of promotional campaigns, no country has signed a firm purchase contract. Potential buyers have either withdrawn interest or opted for more reliable and battle-tested alternatives. Part of the problem is political. Buying Russian defense hardware now carries heavy reputational and financial risks due to sanctions. But the more significant deterrent is technical. Modern air forces are not willing to bet their future airpower on a platform that is both immature and strategically unproven. Even longtime Russian arms clients are turning toward alternative suppliers or domestic development. Adding to the embarrassment, the Su-57 Checkmate project, unveiled in 2021 as a lighter and more affordable single-engine cousin to the Su-57, has become another case study in overpromising and under-delivering. Billed as a direct competitor to the F-35 for export markets, the Su-75 has not progressed past mock-ups and CGI renderings. No working prototype exists. Development is stalled due to funding shortages, export disinterest, and design uncertainties. With the Russian economy under strain and key materials in short supply, the likelihood of the Su-75 ever entering mass production is fading fast. Taken together, the failures of the Su-57 and its derivatives underscore deeper structural weaknesses within Russia's defense industrial complex. Chronic underinvestment in high-end R&D, dependence on foreign parts, and a bloated, state-controlled bureaucracy have all contributed to a system that can no longer deliver complex weapon systems on time or at scale. The high-profile collapse of flagship programs like the Su-57 is emblematic of this decay. It signals to adversaries and allies alike that Russia's ability to project next-generation military power is largely performative. In the broader strategic context, Russia's stagnation in fifth-generation aviation means its air force will become increasingly vulnerable in future conflicts. As NATO states deploy more F-35s, expand drone fleets, and pursue sixth-generation designs through joint development programs, Russia finds itself technologically isolated and unable to compete on equal terms. Its remaining options rely on asymmetric tactics, saturation missile strikes, and the continued use of outdated platforms like the Su-30 and Su-35, jets that are no match for modern Western airpower in a networked battlespace. Ultimately, the Su-57 represents not just a failed aircraft, but a failed vision. It was meant to signal resurgence, autonomy, and parity. Instead, it serves as a reminder that high-tech dominance cannot be achieved through political will alone. It requires scientific infrastructure, stable economies, global cooperation, and industrial excellence, none of which Moscow currently possesses in sufficient supply. The future of air warfare is already moving beyond what Russia can field, and by the time the Su-57 reaches operational maturity, if ever, it will likely be irrelevant.